Hello and welcome to episode 17 of the Late Challenge podcast with me, Paul Cope, and him, Gareth Roberts.
Hiya.
You in a funny mood? I'm in a funny mood.
I'm in a funny mood.
In this week's show, we'll be talking about the usual mix of random shit, including weekends away, mad film plots, shaving our balls, the wild world of internet reviews, as well as Robbo's fact of the week, which I just had to check he's got.
Yeah.
And decide in the next... Oh no, I've changed it. We've got the next phase of it. I was going to say decide in the next phase, but we've got the next phase of the Crunchin challenge, haven't we?
We said last week we were going to do that.
Did
and
we?
You tried to change the rules.
My brain's... Oh yeah, my brain's fucked. We've 100%... I'd be amazed if we haven't picked the same chocolate biscuit. We're doing chocolate biscuits for the first week of the Crunchin challenge.
I went in the shop and went, he'll pick them, so I'm going to pick them. Because I think I know what you're going to pick. And so I picked something else thinking he'll pick them, but I want to pick them.
Really?
Yeah.
See, so I did the opposite of that. I think I know what you're going to pick and I'm picking
the same.
I'm not backing down because otherwise I'm not going to lose just because
I just thought, week one, if we turn up with the same biscuits, like people will be like, oh, fuck off now.
How funny would it be though if you've picked the same as me by trying to overthink it?
I know. Well, we'll see.
There's a big build up in it.
Dun, dun, dun.
But we're starting right. No, we're starting. Best start that. I'm calling it the real life challenge because our Patreon show last week, you quite rightly said we hadn't just had a chat for a while about random stuff. And it was good, and we ended up talking about manscaping, as people call it, and trimming your. We started off with someone going to barbers, and it went on, and people seem to really enjoy it because we got just a selection of comments we got on the Patreon show. Jim Bobbery said, enjoyed that, lads. Favourite episode so far. Nice surprise when you forget about the Patreon show and a notification arrives. Good way to round the week off. Michael Morgan said, best one yet, lads. The waxy nose done me. I love that story. Paul Brown, I love Garrett's rants. You two are the best thing out there. Thanks, Paul. Watch every podcast at least 3 times over in case I miss something. Keep up the work.
Must be all right, mustn't it?
Yeah, it's all right.
You know what I mean?
And then Damien Larkin said that 10 minutes on manscaping is worth the monthly subscription alone. And who doesn't love a Robbo rant? Get in, love the pod, lads. And Danny Williams, which I really liked, said, best show yet. My neighbours knocked on the door complaining because of how loudly I was laughing me bullocks off at the barber stories. Olympic level shite chatting at its finest. Thank you, mate. We really appreciate the feedback. If you're not on the Patreon yet, we're doing an extra show every week. You can get involved for as little as £4 a month, which is £1 a show. You also obviously support the free show. So if you want to get involved, check that out on all the links on our social media and on the website and on the notes to this on YouTube and podcasts. And considering everyone liked that so much, I just thought, fuck it, let's just have another little catch up to start with. Real life stuff. So I'll just start telling you, I had a little weekend away. And we've just been having a little catch up about what you've been up to, so we can get that in as well. We just went to a little Airbnb for the weekend, just me and the missus, because we don't have the kids every other weekend. So we were like, let's go. And we're just into the middle of the country, like countryside, Staffordshire. Yeah. I just call it the middle. I don't call them names. It's just middle, top, bottom. But just in the countryside, away from everything. But it just, as I was doing stuff, I was just thinking, I wonder what your game is on that. Like, do you do Airbnb?
I've done it, yeah.
I know people who don't even know what Airbnb is.
I've done it, yeah. I went to North. I've done a few different ones. Done stuff. Even when we went away with the app, sometimes some of the places we stayed in were Airbnbs. I've took the kids to an Airbnb. Some of them absolutely boss. Like went to one in North Yorkshire. It was amazing. The only thing that I had a problem with was it had like a proper, like a proper range in there for the cooker, not like just a blag one.
Yeah.
But one of them things that's on all the time. I had no fucking idea how to use it. I was Googling it. Things took ages on it. And I was just like, shit, this. Just gives a normal cooker. but no, it was boss. I've used them loads of times, yeah. I think it's a good thing.
So this is what happened, right? We were staying in one and I'm a private man most of the time, which is funny considering half of my life is lived on the internet. But when I go away and stuff, I just like no one talking to me and being left to myself.
When you've gone away with your bird?
Well, other than my bird, she can talk to me. I give her set time, she can talk to me. But like, the people who own the thing, we were in this place where it was like, they had this big house with a big piece of land. And I've noticed this loads. It's in my head for like the future, how you can make money in this day and age. And they basically just turn an outhouse into a...
Oh, yeah.
It's mad how little a place you can turn into like an apartment in it. And so we're on like in a part of their garden, basically with a fence around, but it's a completely separate part. But it only had a fence around it that was like waist high that you could see through. So when they were in their garden, they could see us and we could see them. And they were like friendly. Do you know, like when we got there, they like came over and
So
they had
you
dogs.
fuming that you couldn't go out,
Me and my
Bollock?
missus were talking about this yesterday, like how much is too much, Joe, with your host.
Yeah.
Because they were
I've had
trying
bots.
to be dead friendly, to be nice.
Yeah.
But you know when you get to a point where you're like, and it reminded me of that time, do you remember someone came up to talk to us in the pub, and it was after I'd started therapy and coaching and stuff, and I was like, I'm sick of just being a nice guy all the time. And I just politely but firmly told the fella to fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, but I said it nicely, didn't I?
Yeah.
I said, look, he just came over to talk to me because we're on the telly or we're on the internet or whatever. And I just politely said, like, introduced myself properly and shook his hand and said, look, me and Robbo, we're in the middle of a conversation. So can you come back later or we'll come and find you? And I was thinking, like, it's hard, that, isn't it? Like, we're brought up to like be nice to everybody. But when you're on your holidays and you just want to break, and like they'd just be walking over and they'd walk in the garden and be like, hiya.
Everything
all
all
right?
right?
Everything all right? And you're like,
Have you had a
if you
poo?
stopped? Yeah.
Did you like the bog roll?
But I was saying this to me missus, like, wouldn't it be funny if you just went the other way? Like, have you ever seen those movies, Joe, like Liar, Liar and The Invention of Lying, where you just sell the truth all the time?
Yeah,
but if you just went too far the other way and you were just like, well, it would be all right if you didn't keep talking to me all fucking time. Leave me alone.
You reminded me of when we stayed in once when we went down to Norwich. So we always try and go down because one of our mates is from down there, although it's been a while. Like, but you know, try and do it alongside when we play Norwich, and obviously not even up. So there's our excuse. Sorry, righty. But we went down one time, and it was like that. Like, you had a look on the site, and it looked decent, and there was a few of us going. And then when we got there, it was sort of like in the West Wing or whatever. You know what I mean? Like. And the fella was like dead over friendly to the point where I was like, these are swingers, these are sort of, do you know what I mean? Like, we're going to get back and there's going to be keys in the bowl and we're all going to be sat there, Bollock, all right, lads. It don't know, there was just the vibe about the place. And like, he was like your dad or something, or a teacher, like, don't be getting back too late. And you're like, I'm a grown man, I'll fucking come back whenever I want to. And I'm paying to stay here. Shut up. But like, the North Yorkshire one was boss, never seen the person at all at any point. Just got there, the key was in one of them little boxes. It was a full house with, like, it was boss. You almost felt like you'd moved into a gaff and you were living there and you didn't ever see the person. It was in the middle of nowhere. It was fantastic. So yeah, there are varying experiences.
Isn't that better for both sides though? Yeah. Like, surely if you run it, you'd rather people just came and fucked off again and you never had to meet them. Yeah. You have to meet every person that comes. And
also as well, like, it literally allows you to, like, like, if you want to do that, is everything all right? You can send a message via the app, can't you?
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? So do that. Like, I've done it where they've done that and gone like, oh yeah, tea bags are there and this is there. When you've arrived and have you found everything okay and you can park your car here, and all that. And you're like, oh, that's sound, isn't it?
Yeah, that's nice.
But it's like that thing, though, that I think this is like a societal thing again, isn't it? Where, because we're so overused now to the use of technology, it's like when someone phones you and you're like, fuck are you phoning for?
Mate, you just did it before we got here. My phone goes 5 minutes before we fucking start the show. Why are you? My first reaction was, why the fuck are you phoning me? Exactly.
And the fucking thing on my car is being an absolute bell, and I'm going, ring Paul Cope, and it's going, did you mean 4040? No, ring Paul
Cope. You booting off on the fucking AI in your car.
Honestly. Because it was like, and then it said something like, try turning the fan down. There's some background noise. I was like, just ring Paul Cope. Just ring him. And then you weren't answering and I was late and I was turning down fucking dead ends and all kinds. And I was just like, oh, fuck's sake.
Why are you fucking phoning then? Don't do it.
Because I couldn't text with I was driving.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah.
So what's your game? This is the other, well... Tell me about your trip, because you went to Southampton yesterday.
Yeah, Southampton away, last game of the season. Obviously a bit of a trek, goes without saying. But it was good, enjoyed it. I haven't been to an away since City. And I haven't been down to Southampton. I've been to Southampton and done content down there with Southampton fans, but I've never been to the game there before. So yeah, it was good. It was a wild game. Like, it was like...
Why did you want to go when there was like nothing on it? Just for a day out?
Yeah, just fancied it. And, the lads, and you one of the lads well enough who was going down with some of the other lads that, I knew a little bit or whatever. And I just thought, yeah, I'll go. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. It's the last game of the season. There was obviously nothing riding on it, as you say, but there was something riding on things elsewhere. And I thought, like, that'll be amusing. And it was, like, literally, I think half the ground wasn't even paying attention to the game.
Well, I was going to, did you keep it? Because I didn't, honestly, I set up my afternoon to watch Everton. And obviously Everton was going on.
Yeah.
To the extent that I forgot we were playing. Like, it came through that Jota had scored. And my brain went, why has Jota scored? And I was like, oh, fuck, we're playing as well. And then literally at half time, Joe, because I heard we were 2-0 up, and I was like, oh, sound, we're just going to batter them. And then the next thing I knew, we were losing 4-2. And you're like, what the fuck happened there?
It was wild. We went 2-0 up, and obviously, like, you're like, oh, absolute coasting it. These are shit. They've already gone down. And then next minute, it was like we completely switched off. Loads of errors. Kelleher not covering himself in glory. The back four generally not covering themselves in glory. For me, even like, scores a boss goal, and that's nice, but like, didn't play well, gave the ball away for one of the goals. Got subbed off as well, which, felt kind of harsh. I've seen some people fuming. Like, don't you think it's funny that some people find something to fume about, no matter what, about like their footy team? It's like, you've just said you barely knew it was happening, and like, you were relaxed about it. I think most people in the ground were fairly relaxed about it. Got home and looking at Twitter before, like, I get my head down, seeing these tweets saying like, what was he doing starting Milner? And it's like, does it matter? Like, why are that?
Nothing could happen with that game.
Why are you dead angry about?
We couldn't move, could we?
And then it was all this like, Klopp's over sentimental the way, blah blah blah, and it's like, we couldn't move up or down. Like, and I think there was a thing to say. I wouldn't have liked it to have ended with a defeat. And when it got to 4-2, I went to that Stoke game under Rodgers when we got absolutely twatted. But Steven Gerrard's last game, and I thought, I don't want something like that happening, because it really like does leave a bit of taste in the mouth.
Yeah.
And I thought, and I think, it coming back and being a draw, it just sort of felt all right, but a bit nothing. You know what I mean? It was just like, and most people I spoke to were focusing on the fact that Everton had stayed up, and by and large they were disappointed about that fact. It's fair to say. So yeah, but I fancied the trip. I fancied going down, and for all that I've said of being falling out of love with footy, I know now that I'll miss it now that it's not here for, until the next season starts. So I think I fell a little bit back in love with it. There's still loads of it I don't like and does me head in, but...
This is interesting though, won't you enjoy? Because this is something I always think, I enjoy the break. Even though I'm not as involved as I used to be, I like having a couple of months where it's not even in my mind. Do you know what I mean? I don't have to think about organising my day around it. I can just go into a weekend going, I can do whatever I want. There's nothing else I need to do other than whatever I want.
I think I've got too much uncertainty going on at the minute, and like footy gives me some kind of structure. Mm-hmm. So like, I was doing some teaching, but it was only sort of casual, that's dried. Or I do get bits of work around the footy, whether it's writing or talking or whatever. And if there's no footy, I'm not going to get that, am I? So, all of a sudden I'm thinking, what am I doing here? Do you know what I mean? So I think I'm going to try and do stuff around the house and get the house how I want it, and sort the garden and, things that were yard, and things like that. That's my plan. And I've booked an holiday, and I'm going away this week for a couple of days with the kids in a caravan and things like that. So I'll just take my mind off it that way. But there's a big section of my brain that's going, what are we going to do what are we doing for a living here, lad?
The need for certainty.
Yeah, structure and certainty. Lacking. Yeah,
that's nice. Well, this is mad, because I'm just going to jump around like a
and I feel like you're interviewing me today.
Yeah, that's funny, that, isn't it? Well, I've got stuff to talk about, but it's just random shit. That's why I wanted to ask you about the match. Because as these things were happening to me at the weekend, it's funny, this, isn't it? That like now I'm thinking these things are happening to me. This first thing happened to me while I was naked in the shower, and the first thing I thought of was you and our listeners and viewers. That's nice, isn't it?
You were thinking about me naked in the shower?
When this thing happened. Ooh. So a fly, was on the floor of the shower.
Where's this going, lad?
I was drowning. And my first thought was, I'm going to save that fly. So I saved the fly. And as I'm saving it, I'm thinking, it's mad, I'm going to talk about this on the internet on Monday. And I was just thinking...
How did you save it?
I got that. I had to literally get down.
Wasn't it wet?
It was drowning. It was fucking soaking.
So isn't it fucked then?
Well, you'd think it was fucked, wouldn't you?
Did you get the hairdryer
I was thinking most people, honestly, most people and me in the past would have gone, fucking put it down the drain. And I bent down, I picked it up, I was talking to it like a
let,
dog.
Did you let on?
Right? Yeah, I was talking to it.
All right, mate.
It went all right, mate. It went a nice one. I went to your foot. Are you all right? Got him up on my hand. Got out the shower. Got some tissue paper. Put him on the tissue paper so that he could dry off.
How'd you know it was a fella?
I could just tell. Could tell by his stance. And then I put him down and left him there and got back in the shower. Dead pleased with myself. And then when I got out the shower, he was still like, I was watching him. He was like drying himself off. He was drying his wings off and drying his legs off.
Did you give him a towel?
And then I gave him a little fucking tissue for him to fucking do it. And then after about 10 minutes, he flew away. And I was proper made up with myself. And I thought he was going to sit on the paper towel for a bit, right? And the day before, my missus had killed a fly. And I was going to go out to her and say, I've just fucking saved the fly's life in there. Don't you dare go in and fucking kill it after I've saved it. And we had this big conversation about like, it's a bit mad that. So I just thought I was going to ask you what's your feelings on? Because I've got this thing now, and it's since I did psychedelic drugs, right? Because
sounds like.
Yeah, since I did both psychedelic drugs, a message came through on both where the universe said to me, why do humans think they're more important than everything else? So now when I look at flies, I'm like, why am I more important than you? Like when you unwrap, Joe, like a fly flies around, we're like, do my fucking head in. I'm thinking about what the fly's thinking. The fly's there thinking, this used to be a hut. This used to be like a shed. He could have lived there for 50 years. Then the people who own it have turned it into an Airbnb. And now fuckers like me are coming along and fucking getting him wet and fucking up. And my missus is going fucking furious with these flies. And I was saying, but why?
I'm going to get one of them lecky tennis rackets that you can swat them with.
No, but I won't fucking let you. Stop killing. But then we had this conversation about like, well, why is a fly? No, why is a dog better than a fly? Well, why do we like dogs but we don't like flies?
Well, you can clean the dog. You can't clean a fly.
But this is what she said, right? So her argument was,
they're unhygienic.
Flies eat shit.
Yeah, they crawl around on shite.
Dogs eat shit.
Yeah, but not often.
Yeah, well, how often do flies eat shit?
They crawl around on it.
There was no shit in the room.
Yeah, but they'd been on ship before they arrived.
How do you know?
Because that's what they do.
This is my thing. Why have they got this
dogs don't just routinely eat shit. They eat pedigree chumming that when you look after them.
If you take a dog out for a walk, it will eat shit if it finds it. No. It will. If
you look after it and it's trained, it's not eating shit. It might roll in some.
So it rolls in shit.
And then you clean it,
and then it licks shit.
But you clean it.
Yeah, but like I let my dog kiss my face.
Well, that's up to you, isn't it? It licks its ass.
Yeah.
So that's your choice to, mix those situations.
So my point is, but why is that? That's all right. People generally accept that.
Like Phil, who's sitting in the background, staying in my house next couple of days.
Does he lick his ass? Is that where this is going?
I've given him a separate towel that's on his bed.
Yeah.
Because I don't want him to use a towel that I've flossed my ass with. Do you know what I mean? So like,
yeah. He was saying before he's made up.
But where's this sudden fly love come from? Like, you know what I mean?
It's not just flies, it's everything. I've got this dilemma now that like...
I get the thing of like, ushering them out and all that, but I think sometimes you just can get over... Like, I used to live in a gaff on a farm and it was boss, but there was loads of downsides to it as well, if I'm being honest with you, which is why I moved. And one of the things, because it was a barn, even though it was like a converted little barny thing, it was overrun by spiders. And I don't just mean like, when it goes cold and they start coming in, the odd one runs across while you're watching the telly. I mean, absolutely loads. And I tried all different things, read loads of stuff on the internet, bought one of them plugs that's meant to like, not make them come in, and put peppermint round because people said that worked, put conkers round my house because people said that worked. Honestly, did all these things
spiders
to try and
don't
keep
like conkers and peppermint.
Apparently. But it didn't really work. They were still coming in. Honestly, it was like every time I'd come home, there'd be like into double figures spiders around each of the room, including where I was sleeping. And like, it was the sleeping thing that where I thought, like the worst case scenario, like one's just like having a little kip in your mouth and that while you're snoring away. So I just had to start hoovering them up. You know what I mean? I had no choice. I
hoovered them up?
Yeah. Because it was the quickest way for me to get to kip, knowing they weren't going to crawl into my mouth.
See, this is my game. This is my theory on it now, right? We've been talking about artificial intelligence and like there's this fear now that like we won't be the most fucking sophisticated species on the planet, which is what we think we are, even though I think that's bollocks. And at some point, wouldn't you like to think that just because something's bigger and harder than you, it won't just suck you up with a fucking Hoover?
But sometimes you
And
find
I'm
yourself
thinking-
in scenarios in human life where that's the case, isn't it? Like, you know, like when a bouncer won't let you into a gaff or something.
That's not the same thing.
And he's bigger and harder, so you just have to go, all right, mate.
He's not fucking sucking you up with a Hoover. And then he said sucking you off with a Hoover.
Always looks happy, that Henry, doesn't it? Yeah. I mean, like I say, I understand it. Like, I love, like, you know, like that same gaff that I lived in. Loads of birds came into the garden and I absolutely loved it. I put loads of food out for them. And like, you know, started, like there was a pattern, you know what I mean, of certain ones that were always, like there was like a woodpecker that was coming and all kinds. And I was like, this is boss. But like now I've moved to like a really like urban area. And I'm getting nothing. And I'm putting food out. Nothing at all. Don't even see one. Don't ever hear one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is shit. I want the boys to come back. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm on a mission now. Like I've been reading up about that now. What can I do in an urban area to attract, and like, you know, so I started putting some flowers around and all that and like green stuff. You know, I'm determined that I'm going to get like my own set of boys now. Like I did have when I was living on the farm. So them lads are sound.
Why do you like them then? But this is what I think this is what intrigues me, right? Why have we created stories around some animals that we like and some animals that we don't like?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you can get over these things, can't you?
Loads of people don't like mice and rats, but they like gerbils and hamsters. And I'm like, why? Like, we'll have guinea pigs. I had guinea pigs as
But
pets
rats,
when I was a
it's
kid.
where they're knocking around again, though, innit? Like, you know, they're knocking around in like bins and sewers and the fucking
Is that what it is,
minging.
the where they're knocking around? Is that what we're saying?
But you know what I
Where
mean?
you
Like,
hang out?
they're bringing ming to your gaff if they come
Yeah, but
into
you
yours,
don't know
aren't
where
they?
these fucking birds have been. You don't know what they're
Yeah,
doing
but
when
they're not knocking
there.
around in my gaff. They're not, you know what I mean? Like, have you ever seen what a cornered rat does? It's not great.
Yeah, but why are you cornering it? Why don't you just let
Because
it
it was
get
in
on
my
with it?
gaff. I used to live in the countryside and like mice and rats and
Oh,
shit
in that house
came
you
in.
lived in? Did you have
No,
them
not
coming
that
in?
one. That was in another one. Like, we had mice that came in one time, yeah, and like had to put like. To be fair, I got for the mice, I got humane traps and like released them onto the field and stuff like that.
But you know what? We did a similar thing about 6 months ago. There were little tiny baby mice. My girlfriend was petrified of them. And again, we had a similar conversation.
Fast, aren't they?
They were fast as fuck, but I loved them. They're just, I'm like,
They look like they're on wheels, don't they, when they're going? Do you know what I mean? You're just like, whoa, hang on.
it was like a little electric car
Yeah.
going that fast.
Yeah.
But anyway, we caught some in these like humane. I mean, it was funny because the 3-year-old lad, he just fucking, do you want it was in the thing. And you're laughing to yourself thinking, we've caught it in a humane trap. And again, I always pictured like being the mouse in the thing. We caught it in this humane trap to let it out then, to be humane and to like not kill it, but to put it on a field. But then the 3-year-old wants to hold it, wants to carry the cage. It was like a plastic thing,
I thought you meant
not
like
the
the
mouse
actual
itself.
mouse, yeah.
He wants to just carry the cage. So we go, okay, you can carry it. But obviously he's 3. So then he just starts like shaking it and like tipping it upside down. And you're like, no, mate. So, but by the time you've stopped him doing it,
It's dead.
that mouse is like, fucking hell. So you've caught me humanely and then you just let someone fucking throw me around in the cage. That's fucking mental. But anyway, we let it out and we told someone else about it and they went, yeah, that's cruel. We went, why? He went, it's a house mouse. Like it doesn't know how to live in the wild. So you've let it out in like the middle of a field and it'll just get eaten.
Surely the mice existed before houses.
No, yeah, but these ones have they've built communities and like
In your
they've
house?
got like a social centre.
So it's like Tom and Jerry, like, you know, like you go through that little hole and then there's like
he
a
had
big,
like a little pair of shorts on.
yeah, like the living room and that.
Yeah.
Little lamp
Yeah.
watching the telly.
Yeah. And then you're taking him out into the
Fucking hell,
jungle.
I'd have lived there. What are you doing? Why have you put me in the field, you tip?
My dad used to do
Not
it
a
with
field
squirrels.
mouse.
And I used to like take the piss out.
Squirrels?
Yeah, he'd
In your
catch
house?
squirrels like in the garden. My dad hated Everton and he'd catch squirrels and then he'd drive them like 20 miles and let them out. And I said,
Oh,
it's
wow,
the same
kidnapping
fucking
a
squirrel
squirrel.
comes back. Yeah. He used to do it with cats and everything.
Can on.
That's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like a neighbour's cat would go missing and I'd go to my dad. That was you, that wasn't it? And he'd just like smile. He'd never admit it, but never deny it.
Who?
I know.
That's a mad
And
one.
then, but he was like loved in the community. And like, you don't fucking know who he is. He's fucking kidnapping your cats.
Wow. This is Kopi's agenda today, by the way, everyone. You know, just if you're wondering, like, you know, we do go off on tangents on this podcast, and there's been very different podcasts from talking about manscaping to talking about the ads. It's Kopi's choice today.
People said they wanted
All complaints to Paul Cope.
People said there was too much footy.
So you've just gone, let's talk about saving flies and kidnapping cats.
Because it occurred to me whilst I was naked in the shower and thinking about you. I just thought I'd ask you about it. Because I think my position on it's unusual. So I wanted to explore it.
No, I mean, I know other people who say they try and save, they don't want to kill anything.
Yeah, but it creates an issue in your life, it does, because then you're like, there's got to be a line somewhere, doesn't there?
Well, I mean, flies are dozy bastards, aren't they? Like, do you talk to them, like, do you know what I mean? Well, you said you did. I do as well.
I talk to Everton. I talk to trees.
So, like, I have the doors open, obviously on a hot day. That's not, like, a mad thing to do. And flies come in, and you're like, and I'm going to it. Lad, the door's open there. Fly back out.
So this,
and then it's going round in circles and going back in my living room. And you're like, go, lad, out.
Yeah, but this is mad. So you'll talk to it and create a relationship with it and then fucking murder it.
Well, I'm just asking it to get off. I want it to get off. I don't want to murder it.
So your position is, you'll ask it nicely to leave, but if it won't leave nicely, you'll kill it.
No, I mostly get them out. The blue bottles and all that.
Do they listen to you?
Yeah, they normally get off in the end. It just does me head in how long they take to get off. And if it's a wasp, then we're in different territory, aren't they? Because that's a fight.
See what
they're trying to sting you, them little bastards.
But are they?
Yeah.
I mean, I could talk about this all day. No, I think they can sense that you don't like them. That's why they want to sting you.
But why are they set up to sting?
What do you mean?
What are they for? Well, why are they going around stinging everyone?
Defend people who've been twats to it.
But bees are sound, aren't they?
No, they kill. But that's mad. I think bees are madder than wasps.
They're all right, though.
Why would you commit suicide just to sting someone?
But they don't want to, do they? They just want to make honey and that.
But don't stop fucking stinging people then.
But that's the last resort. That's like,
why is it the last resort? Like, to kill you? Imagine that. Imagine if you got so pissed off with me. Have you watched there's a movie, fucking talking about Ireland. Have you watched the Banshees of Inisherin?
No.
Oh, everyone, if you haven't watched it, no. It's fucking mental.
No.
Yeah.
Is it good? No. You're not selling it to me here.
It's mental. It's got loads of Oscar nominations and that. It's one of those movies, I think, right?
Is it the one where the fella says, like, stop knocking around or I'll start chopping my hand off or something?
I didn't want to ruin it, but obviously if you haven't seen it, so is that in the clip?
That's in a clip.
That's literally what he does. He goes to him, he doesn't want to hang around with the mate anymore. And his mate doesn't believe him. And he says to him, if you don't stop bothering me, every time you bother me, I'm going to chop one of my fingers off and lash it at you. And that's what he starts doing. But that's like, but in a movie, when you're watching a human do it, you're like, that's mad. But that's what bees do all the time. And you just like bees. Everyone likes bees.
The sound.
Well, how is that sound? That's fucking mental.
Nah, because they're saving the queen, aren't they? You know what I mean? They're saving the community.
Think of the conversation we had the other week about the royal family, and you think it's all right for a bee to kill itself to save the queen.
But have you seen what's been your bee experience? Because I had a mad bee experience, and honestly, it was like off a film. So I'm in my back garden playing footy with my daughter. Summer day, nice day, kicking the ball around, all sound. And then no, I'm not exaggerating at all. A fucking clouds of the boys just start buzzing around, and then they all just went fuck off and like descended on like basically the garage. And one of them had obviously like found the hole or whatever, like gone into the root inside the roof and gone sound in here, yeah. Gone back to the boys and went right. We're gonna go and live here. Come ahead, and like whatever they do. Like ring each other up or whatever. They all just went.
They definitely ring each other up.
And like honestly, like I had to like leg in and like shut all the doors and windows and that. And it was like a horror film. But then once they were in there, it didn't bother me. They just cracked on me.
So why are you all right with them then? Well, that behaviour is well worse than any fly behaviour I've ever known in my life. Because flies don't gang up on you. Flies don't sting you. Flies don't do kamikaze fucking pilot shit on you.
But I can see like order and structure to what they're doing. You know what I mean? They're finding somewhere to live and then they're cracking on making the honey, and honey's boss.
So it's the fact that they make honey. So is this the problem with flies? They don't have anything.
Yeah, all they do is give you diseases.
How's this for a mad like segue into a different conversation?
All the best clip in this one, Jacob.
Yeah. But I love we've got someone here to talk about this. I've said this for ages about like immigration, right? What's the problem for it, right? What's the problem for like immigration? You've got to have something to bring with you. Like no one has ever questioned the Irish or the Chinese coming into their countries, have they? Because the Irish bring pubs and the Chinese bring restaurants.
They did do.
Don't they do it anymore?
No, they did used to question them.
But before they started bringing pubs.
No blacks, no Irish. You've not seen those signs once upon a time.
Yeah, back in the day.
Yeah.
But did the pubs come before or after? This is a good historical study. Because you're saying the same thing. You're all right with bees because they basically bring you honey, whereas flies don't bring you anything.
And this was the last ever episode of the Late Challenge.
Anyway, right.
I don't know how we got to immigration. Go on.
It's the same point. Let's do your, have you got your fact ready?
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know how many people know this. So I'll start with you. Do you know that there was a castle in town?
A castle in town? No.
Yes. See, that's the kind of answer I wanted. So there was a castle in town. Liverpool had a castle. And I think, like, if you go to a place and it's got a castle, like, it's good, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like, it's a boss focal point.
Are you going to tell me another thing? I'm going to be disappointed in our city for like knocking something down.
I mean, this one feels like less like our fault. Do you know what I mean? It's not like someone in the corp, he went like, shit, that just fucking knocked that down and build the courts. Because that's where it was. So, you know, obviously Castle Street.
Yeah.
Castle. And if you go and look at, you know, the Queen Victoria monument in town. So, obviously, you know about, you can see a willy if you look at that from a certain aspect, you know that as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyone who doesn't know, if you come to visit Liverpool, go and look at the Queen Victoria monument, stand at a certain angle, and it looks like she's got an enormous cock, which is a bit of a, you know, whoever made that,
he didn't
think that
the
through,
shit
did they?
You have told us that's gone on in this city that no one knows about, and one of the things we actively tell people is we've got a statue of an old queen and she looks like she's got a cock, and people come and look at it.
Yeah, not even that. There's people like doing guided tours around the city, and I used to see this, like, walking down to the Raps office at times, and they'll literally guide the group of people to the best angle and say, see, if you look there, you can see now it looks like she has a penis. You know what I mean? And you're like, this is part of the guided tour of Liverpool that you're saying Queen Vic's got a cock. But no, but if you go up and look at that up close, not the cock, just the general thing. If you walk around it, there's a little plaque and it says Liverpool Castle stood here, basically. So it was literally there. So the history of it is that in 1232, the Earl of Derby ordered Liverpool Castle to be built. It was positioned at the waterfront's highest point in the area between James Street and Castle Street, where the Victoria Monument stands. It had 5 large towers, it had a moat around it, and it also had a chapel and a prisoner tower. It remained in use for the next 500 years. And in 1664, during the Civil War, the castle was the centre point of a huge battle between the Cavaliers and the Roundheads. And that war left the castle in ruins. So in the early 1700s, it was dismantled, and its bricks were used to make both Liverpool's first dock and also St. George's Church, which stood on that spot as well. You can actually, so the castle, if you look it up, there's drawings of it and all that kind of stuff. St. George's Church, though, is more modern, and there's pictures of that. So, you know, again, if you're interested in the sort of history of the city, and you can Google that, and it looked a nice church, and, you know, to add to your disappointment type thing, it definitely looks better than what's there now. Because those court buildings, I fucking hate them.
It's a horrible part of town, I think.
It's
that
just
little corner.
a grim building. And, you know, some architect somewhere will tell me that, you know, it's such and such, and it's a great example of X or Y. Nah, it's not great, is it? But yeah, so it was in use for 500 years, left in ruins. They built the church. The church opened on the site of the castle in 1734. That was then demolished in 1898 and replaced with the present-day Victoria Monument in 1906. And a bizarre little segue from this as well. Rivington Park, which is near Bolton, good place to go for a walk. There is a replica of a castle. A replica of the Liverpool Castle was built there in the early 1900s, and there's some ruins of that left. So again, if you look that up, it gives you an idea of what Liverpool Castle once looked like. I wish we had the castle, got to be honest with you.
Isn't that mad? So when was it, the 1700s?
Yeah. 1232, and then it was knocking around for 500 years or so. Yeah.
But see, this is one of the things I say about humans now. Like, we always think the way things are the way things have always been, but that castle was there for 500 years and that now isn't. So it's 300 years ago it was knocked down.
And the king come and had a little kip there and stuff like that. And
do you think we'd be more into the royal family if we had a castle here?
No.
Do you think?
I'm happy
A
that
real king with a real sword. Imagine if Charlie had a proper sword and like...
he has.
went
Probably
out
has
to-
got all that shit.
No,
hasn't
but if he could fight. Do you reckon we'd like kings better if they could fight?
he? No, it's just bullying, isn't it? Like, you know, like I'm just going to go and take...
Yeah, but that's how
I just fancy
kings,
I just fancy have an island. So we're just going to knock over, run over there, run round, stab people, you know, fire crossbows at them, build things there, and then go, this is ours now.
Yeah.
Sound.
Yeah.
What a way to go about life. So no. I'd like that the castle was
you'd like
there
the
as a
castle,
mark
yeah,
of history type of thing. But
Do you know what I don't get? Yeah, I mean, that's a good... Yeah, you're doing well keeping up with these facts. I said to you before, I'd forgot we were doing it. But that's a good one, though.
I think I might have to expand them out. You know,
Beyond Liverpool.
maybe just try and turn up with like interesting facts. I don't know. I'll keep it going as long as I can.
I think people would like Beyond Liverpool as well.
Yeah, because you know, we always look at the feedback, and I remember seeing something that said maybe it can come across as a bit too local.
Yeah, it's sound for people who like Liverpool and from Liverpool. But
let us know. Do you want me to try and find just facts, or would you prefer that they continue to be about Liverpool stroke Merseyside?
I think. Well, you're going to run out sooner or later anyway, aren't you? So, but it depends if you want to carry on doing it.
Yeah, I like it. I like looking for them, and you know, I'm interested myself in the city and the history and all that. Like some of them, I just think there's loads out of it. I just think, oh, that's interesting, but I don't think it works on a podcast. Like if it turned up and said to you, do you reckon one of the earliest settlements ever in this country anywhere is Greasby? Would you have been asked?
Earliest settlements?
Yeah.
I probably would be, but only because I'm interested in like ancient civilizations and stuff. Yeah.
Well, you live over there, don't you know? Yeah. So. Did you see you got feedback about it? We're crossing over shows here, aren't we? But you still haven't had your barnet cut. And,
I was going to talk about that, but we talked about so many random things. I thought we'd best move on to something more structured.
You know, I said there's a boozer where you can get your hair cut. Someone put in the Patreon where that was.
Where it is,
he thinks it's not a thing now, though. He says it's a good pub, though.
Oh.
He said he thinks the barber's chair might still be there, but no one cuts your hair now. Oh. Sad, isn't it?
That's sad, yeah. That's sad.
What's next, then?
We're going to get on with the Crunchin challenge, aren't we?
Oh, yeah.
But again, see, I mean, this fucking falling to bits, isn't it? I didn't even realise we'd decided, but we are starting with biscuits, aren't we?
Yeah.
And a couple of people suggested the same thing, didn't they? Which is, if you're going to do biscuits, and we talked about this last week, you need to be more structured.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's just too, like...
Well, I said as
too
well.
Unfair.
Because if I turned up with whatever that pink wafer thing's called, I wouldn't have shit that. But if I turned up with that and you turned up with a chocolate biscuit, then...
I'm going to win.
People are going to win because they like chocolate.
Yeah.
You're going to win because people like chocolate.
Yeah.
I mean.
So we're starting the first week with chocolate biscuits, aren't we?
But next week you can't do chocolate again.
Yeah, but I was going to check with you whether cookies count as chocolate biscuits, but I think that they should be separate. But
if you got chocolate on them?
Depends what type of cookie. They've got chocolate in them.
I think on them.
It's got to be covered.
Mainly chocolate. Or a lot chocolate.
Can't be mainly. Mine's not mainly chocolate today.
Well, anyway, what have you got?
Go on. Do you want to reveal yours first?
Yeah, go on.
I think we've got... Oh, I've already got them out. I've already eaten some of mine on the way. That's how much I like them.
Have you?
Yeah.
So I've gone for... It literally says on the front... Yes! I've just seen yours and you've done what I knew you'd do. So I've gone for what... I do like what you've gone for, but what I've gone for is literally... It says on the front that it's the nation's favourite.
Chocolate digestive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could have told you what the two selections would be.
And you've gone for hobnobs.
Chocolate hobnobs, yeah. And I thought I was going to call these. Do you know when I said last week, I'm just going to call one out loud so I get to bags here. I was going to say chocolate hobnobs, but I thought we'd both bring in hobnobs. And I nearly brought in chocolate digestives. When I said before what I was going to switch, that's what I'd have switched to. Yeah. So we nearly ended up bringing in the same by both switching away from. But I
literally looked at hobnobs in the shop and was like, Kopi will bring them in. And chocolate, then I thought, I think a lot of people will like these, and like they literally say the nation's favourite. I nearly did a bit of a, because me dad loved these, but he got the dark chocolate ones.
Well, I was going to say that, yeah. Do we need
these are milk chocolate.
Do we need to specify dark or milk chocolate?
Yeah, I think so. I think dark chocolate's divisive though, which is why I didn't go with it.
Massively divisive.
Loads of people just don't like it, do
yeah,
they?
I never used to like it.
Have you had the 80%? You can go dead high on the percentages, because the higher percentage is actually better for you, isn't it?
Yeah, well, my girlfriend's currently giving up sugar.
Oh, yeah.
So she's started eating that.
Is this nothing into your diet then?
No,
I've known people who've done this, and like, I believe you get like proper like withdrawal symptoms and all kinds.
one of my mates stopped eating sugar at one point, but he did it extreme, but he cut out like fruit and everything, and he started having withdrawal symptoms, like literally shaking and that.
That's
like
mad,
he'd give up smack. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's not good for you, mate.
Yeah.
You need to fucking do it slower and don't give up like fruit
What's
at
on
the
with
same
fruit,
time.
yeah?
Well, it's high sugar. Fructose, yeah. Well, you get all those people now, don't you? Like start doing that, and they're the bits where you go on the internet and anything, you can find anything that says anything, can't you? Someone was like, if you're overweight, you're eating too much fruit. And I've heard a few people say this. If you're overweight, I guarantee you it's not the fact you're eating too much fruit that's your problem.
Yeah, I know, yeah. It's them massive fucking burgers you're having on that. Someone asked, and I'm still intrigued with it, I don't think you've explained probably, what's the tea thing about though? Have you fully explained why you don't drink tea?
Yeah. What?
So you drank other people's tea, you said last week?
No, I didn't drink it. I just dunked.
Oh, you dunked in it, yeah.
Yeah. So I've never liked...
What do you think's the best dunker out of these two?
Hobnobs by a fucking million miles.
To quote Peter Kay, though, that drinks most of your brew.
Yeah, but it's fucking solid, innit?
But you don't drink tea?
Yeah, but
how do you know?
That's not the point, is it? I still know. I still know stuff I don't experience myself.
So you stood there dunking different biscuits,
you can't be a good footy coach if you ain't a good football player.
And then you can't drink your tea, though. Have you just done an experiment?
No, look at you already you've been thinking about this. This is what you're spending your weeks doing when you've got nothing to do. Thinking about how you can undermine my selections in a crafty way.
I'm just asking
questions.
It's dangerous.
I need to get you a job just so that you don't do my selections in the knee. Do you know what I think is, I've always thought this is mad, even as a kid. Why tea? This goes back like same thing, like the programming we have. Like, why do you like certain animals and not others? If I say to people, if someone says to me, do you want a glass of Coke? And I say, no, thanks. No one goes to me, why don't you like Coke though? Why don't you like that? Tell us. But with tea, it's like you need a fucking justification. Beyond, I don't like it.
It's ingrained in society.
But it's shit. It's
not shit.
Mate, Ted Lasso, my new favourite fucking show in the world. Have you watched it?
Yeah.
I was fucking jumping up and down when he did it. Do you know, in the first series, he tries tea and he spits it out. I'm like, that is fucking disgusting. I'm like, it's not a nice drink. It's like beer. Everyone, like, when they first have it, it's like it's shite and you have to wean yourself onto it. And now I've got to a point, I actually think I could like coffee, but I decided years ago there was no point because it's bad for you.
That shit.
No, I think good coffee is probably like a good thing.
Don't like it. Don't get it.
No. See, so why don't you like coffee?
It stinks.
But tea's not nice.
Yeah, but like if someone like is a regular coffee drinker, they fucking honk of it. Like the breaths ming.
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas if you have
don't think that's true of tea.
Nah, if you have a cheeky brew, I don't think you've got ming breath off it.
Yeah, but I mean, my big thing is it like, so what?
So you're selling the hubs or what?
What do you mean?
Why have
like
you gone
doing
for
a pitch? Yeah. I don't think they need a pitch.
You're just going to go straight to the vote?
I was literally eating them on the way over, thinking they're fucking lovely, them. They're lovely. The biscuit itself
Phil, what would you
is nicer than a digestive. Digestives are too plain.
Phil's pointing to hobnobs.
If hobnobs don't, I mean... Yeah. Oh, fucking hell, there we go.
The national biscuit of Ireland.
So the Irish vote should come in.
McVitie's has got nothing to do with Ireland.
It should be a fucking landslide. It should be.
Well, it should be, but I mean, if I'd have turned up with hobnobs, you wouldn't have a vote. So, you know, like, I've took one for the team here.
No, don't be fucking crying in.
Oh, hang on, they are. Hey, look, they are the Republic of Ireland. There's a little phone number on the back.
Stop fucking fishing. There's a fucking Irish phone number on the back and you're trying to get the Irish votes off the back of that.
No, I'm just saying. You know, he's saying
says Ireland on the packet.
I mean, they're both made by the same manufacturer. So,
well, even McVitie.
Both will be popular in Ireland, I would
suggest.
Are
they both made by McVitie's? Yeah, these are hobnobs are the best. Vote for them. Let's not mess around with it. We've got 15 minutes left. I wanted to throw in a little bit of footy just because we've had the last weekend of the season. We probably won't be talking much about footy over the summer, will we? Which will be what sets us apart from all the other footy podcasts, nicely enough. But you mentioned Everton earlier. As I said, I was watching it. There was a point when they were down and I was thinking, it's interesting this. It's getting interesting. But fundamentally, I think what went wrong was Brighton let themselves down, let us down, let their families down, let the nation down a couple of weeks ago, didn't they? that 5-1 win, was it 5 in the end?
Yeah.
That, I mean, if it wasn't for that, they'd have gone. And I think it's mad, they stayed up on 36 points. So they basically stayed up because other teams were just shite.
Yeah, I mean, it's proper skin of the teeth stuff, isn't it? And I think my thing with them is that, nothing's going to change it. Nothing looks like it's going to change here either. So, you've got like the owner now borrowing money to keep up with the cost of the stadium. There was news as well, wasn't it, that Mashiri literally wants to get off and sell and go and all that kind of stuff as well. And I just think they'll be back down there again. And they're protesting about the board and all that, the fans, and the right to do so, because it's an absolute mess. It's run as a mess.
The end was interesting, wasn't it? Did you see any of it?
No.
Because I was watching it on Sky, and it was funny, because you had a mini pitch invasion. I mean, don't say mini, there was a few thousand went on the pitch, but most of the fans stayed in the stands and then booed the people who went on the pitch. And you could tell there was a different vibe. It wasn't like, there was a relief that they'd stayed up, but then that very quickly turned to like anger. Do you know what I mean? That why are we celebrating? We shouldn't be celebrating this. This is fucking one of the problems, is we're celebrating staying up.
I heard a blue before on the radio saying that he'd heard, been told, knew, whatever, that in the training ground, Finch Farm, there's pictures of them staying up under Lampard, like all the fans on the pitch and all that. And he was like, I don't understand why that's up in the training ground.
Yeah.
It's not an achievement. Yeah. You know what I mean? And
that's a sign of
it's
problem,
like the Ken Wright thing, isn't it? Where Ken Wright said, what was it? We've had some good times.
Yeah. When?
And there's a picture in his office of staying up as well, isn't it? Is it 4 times now they've stayed up on the last day? I think it is.
Well, I can think, yeah. I can think of 4 off the top of my head. Yeah. There's the Barry Horn one. There's the Gareth Farrelly one.
Yeah.
There's last year and this year.
So, 4 times going to the last day. And look, you saw some good examples of support, didn't you, and all that. And, I don't think I've ever seen County Road like that before the match, to the point where they had to close it and that kind of thing.
I didn't see it. I just saw clips from outside the game.
Did you know, by the way, I've got a little fact for you. So did you know, I only found this out over the weekend and I'm fucking made up with it, I've got to be honest with you. So the brick, as in the boozer right by Goodison on County that they all go to.
Yeah.
And we've all had a laugh, haven't we, as Reds about it over the years, about the welcome, the putting butties on for Man United fans and all this kind of stuff and blah, blah, blah. And it's sort of like, it's become like the epitome of blue nose, that boozer. Do you know it was called the red brick?
Was it?
Yeah. And they painted it up and took the red off. And it's just like, it's like this, dirty secret that's never referred to.
How long ago was it? How long ago was it, the red brick?
Well, it was a taxi driver that told me. And so I got in and I was Googling it and all that, and it's right. And then some of the lads I was with over the weekend, we went down to Southampton, they're like, oh yeah, red brick, yeah. It's like, that swiftly disappeared when it had a change of ownership, and it's never referred to. So I'm just now going to always refer to it as the red brick. Yeah. I don't think I'll ever go in
the red brick. Just can ask people that casually.
Yeah, I had my first. I'm living that neck of the woods. I've said before on here, haven't I? I had my first sort of drink down that way. So for ages I've lived down that way since November, and I've been for ages going like, should I go in any of these pubs or what? And I've asked loads of people, and they're all like, they are proper blue pubs. Like everyone is like blue orientated, which makes you think what's going to happen when they do move. But out of them all, I just thought, well, I'll go out with Debbie and we'll try one. And so we went to Black Horse, loads of Everton stuff, little painting things and mural things.
Oh, really? So it's like,
yeah,
outwardly.
Oh yeah, and loads of them are like that. It's because that is their trade though along there. Do you know what I mean? It is their main trade is Everton being at home.
They must be shitting themselves about the ground going there, mustn't it? Because Liverpool fans probably just won't go in there, mainly.
Well, that's what I mean. And I kind of think, I understand why they've done it, but if you're a Red and I don't think I'm as bad as I used to be back in the day about these type of things. But I was messing with Debbie, obviously going not better in there looking at that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Messing. But we went to a fair, we went from there, we walked down Rice Lane and we went to a pub there, which I really liked. It was called the Prince Albert, I think. And it was a proper old school boozer with a real mix of ages in there. We walked in and this old fella sort of got up and gave Debbie a stool, said, do you want to sit there, love, and all that. And like she even said to me, I don't really, but like I feel bad saying no because that's like he's being dead nice and all that.
Yeah.
And he was a fella on there like singing and all that kind of stuff, and just a boss vibe in there. And it was mad because like on Thursday I had a drink in town and it was £6 a pint, the place I was in. And on Friday I'm in this pub, Rice Lane, ordered a pint and a double vodka and Coke, and it was like £7. And I was like, it's mad that, innit? You know what I mean? I mean, I guess the place in town would be saying, yeah, but you're in town and this is posh and blah, blah, blah. And we've had to pay out for, you know, the surroundings you're in. But that's a big
difference,
jump.
That though, yeah.
Yeah,
like,
it's a big jump.
I don't think, as you were saying that, I was thinking, yeah, like I can think of the justifications, but I don't think it justifies it. Because think about back in the day, the price gap between town and out of town pints wasn't that big, was it?
No, I don't think so. Yeah,
it used to be similar.
Yeah,
like your dad might have said, "Oh, you can get a pint for £1.80 in the local church club or whatever," and in town it might have been £2.50.
Yeah,
but it wasn't like £3 to £7, which is what it is now.
But that's walking distance, those two pubs, because we literally walked. It was a nice night, and in there I walked in and I'm looking at all the walls and Everton, thinking, is this going to be blue as well? Like, do you know what I mean? And I seen something about Everton and I was like, look, they're doing it as well. Why is it? Like, I was sort of like mid-rant and like, you know, Debbie just like pointed at the bar and they had these like, what are they called? Like, you know, like the mats that they have down basically, like to soak up any beer that's being spilled or whatever. And that had a Liverpool badge on one end and an Everton badge on the other. And she's like, see, it's both. Shut up now. Drink your drink. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I do wonder about those boozers, you know, and that road in general, like, you know, sort of, you know, it's celebrated, isn't it, that, you know, Everton are going to a part of town that does need some investment and it, you know, it would be great for that little bit of the city. But what about what
they
it
never
leaves
say
behind?
That second bit though, do they? They never say what about the bit you leave behind.
I know, yeah. So
that's interesting though. Actually, I always think that, like, when they talk about redevelopment and helping one part of the city, they don't talk about, well, what about the bit you're leaving behind? That's a big thing. I mean, because you're just shifting the wealth, aren't you, from one place to the other? You're not developing the city.
For all the badly run chat about Everton, which is correct, obviously, like, you know, I'll always say that, you know, they've been pretty good in the community, I think, over the years, like, and they've certainly, I think, probably shouted about it better than maybe Liverpool have at times and things like that. And, you know, if you go around Goodison, there's like a community hub there and stuff like that. So I imagine those things are staying. Do you know what I mean? I don't think they're going, but it's maybe my fault for not reading up properly on it. But I genuinely don't know what the plan is with Goodison Park. Like, I've been to Highbury since it isn't Highbury anymore.
Yeah, me too.
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah, but I remember
weird, but good.
But again, I remember having this conversation with someone about our owners in the past when they were talking about moving from Anfield and we'll just do to Anfield what they did to Highbury. And I'm like, it just shows a fucking lack of awareness about the country, like in the areas these clubs are in. Like Highbury in Islington in London is a fucking high-end place. Do you know what I mean? The property around there is worth a fortune. One of my mates lived around there and he bought it years ago with the help of his mum and dad and then sold it 5 years ago and made a fucking mint. Because round there, property prices are through the roof. Yeah. So if you have to shut down a stadium and redevelop it, you can do
People
that.
are going to buy it and you can charge top whack.
Yeah. But where Goodison and Anfield are, it's not the fucking same.
You can pick up an house for what? Probably like 50 grand or something.
I mean, you could build dead expensive flats in the middle of there and no one will buy them.
I know. There's a weird thing as well. I don't know how we've gone down this hole, but we'll keep going. I remember, and this is another thing that feels not very well explained or not very well communicated. And I do feel like I've tried to find out stuff about this in the past. So you got Anfield, and Anfield's obviously being expanded, and you know we'll have the Anfield Road soon and all the rest of it. There was talk of this hotel, wasn't there? Where's the hotel? You know, like it was part of the plan. Hotel, local people would be trained up and employed there. Mm-hmm. It would be, you know, it would obviously be like a big pull for people who want to come to the city, stay in the city and go to the game. You know, absolute convenience for them. And if you go the match now, there's this big piece of land right by the ground. You know, as you're coming up towards the Cop, you know, it's there. Nothing. And like, there's no communication. There's no boards on it. There's no like, this is what's happening with this. It just seems to have been like a big plan that never happened. And like, don't you think? maybe I'm being harsh on the city and the people who help to run it or whatever, but there's so many plans we've heard about Anfield and the area and the infrastructure over the years that never seem to happen. Like, where's this? Remember, we'll open another station. And it's this old line. It'll utilise this old line. It'll be closer to Anfield and blah, 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 blah. There's no fucking sign of it. And all that seems to have happened is they put extra buses on to, between town and there. But that solves nothing because the infrastructure's bad. And now you're making the ground even bigger. And that's going to make the situation even worse. And it's got to the point now, hasn't it? I guess there's a weird knock-on effect for the economy of Anfield, if you like, in that loads of people now just go, we'll go for a pint because you can't get anywhere. Do you know what I mean? You can't get into town because there's not enough taxis or buses, or it takes too long. Obviously you can walk, but walking's not an option for everyone, and all of that kind of thing. And it's just mad that it's like they've not solved that all these years. Do you know what I mean? Like, why haven't they opened that other station? And I don't know. There's loads of little mad failed things, isn't there? Like, I remember, do you remember we were supposed to get the Mersey tram? No. That would have been, we were supposed to get a tram. Maybe I should save that for a fact. We were supposed to get a tram, and it was supposed to be like, replicating some of the old routes of when we had trams. And like, Manchester.
We had the Red Railway, didn't we? That was another thing that got knocked down.
Well, that could be that's one of the things being considering doing for a fact, because, I'm pretty sure that was one of the world's first. And it's mad that, because, you associate, like, you see like boss pictures of like, I don't know, New York or whatever, don't you? And we had it there, but it fell apart, didn't it? It was,
just wasn't maintained, basically. But this is, I think this is the mad thing when you talk about like, why aren't we doing this? Even as you're saying it, I'm thinking, if I was minted, because it's like, why doesn't the council do it? The council's fucking incompetent. Why are we just relying on FSG to do it then? Like, Joe, it's a gang of hedge fund investors from America who were bothered about the club, but why aren't there's loads of dead wealthy Scousers?
Yeah.
Loads. I was looking it up at the weekend because I've got this other plan that I've mentioned to you, which we'll talk about. I can't talk about it on air. I was looking at like people from Merseyside who are wealthy. It's fucking ridiculous how many there are. Like, my brother-in-law literally works for one of them who owns Home and Bargain. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
and I don't think when I talk about people like that, this is like no personal criticism of any of them individually, but I'm surprised actually, because I think, well, if I was minted, I'd just open that train line, because actually it'd be a good investment. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you can get people from the city centre to there every weekend, every game, every match
day. Especially now as well, like tourism is a big thing for the city, isn't it? And I know there's criticism of some aspects of it, like, the nighttime economy gets a bit oversold for some people's life, and they're like, we shouldn't only be a destination for stag and hens type of thing.
Yeah.
We're more than that, we're better than that type of thing. But yeah, stuff like that, you do wonder, don't you? Because it is now, a tourist trap. It is much, much better than when we were kids.
That's what the economy is, like, whether you like it or not. And it's not...
Imagine an overhead railway now. That, is it? It'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But you don't get the cruise liners stopping in Liverpool because of stag and hen do's. You get them stopping because of the history and the tourism for that. So make the most of that. Like, do more of that. Something that's always shocked me, actually, like even like the Beatles Hotel is a private venture, and that's what I mean. Do you know what I mean? It's not called the Beatles Hotel, the Hard Day's Night.
Or the Beatles Story. That's a private venture, isn't it?
But loads of stuff. So like, I'm surprised there aren't more people who go, that's what I'll do. I'll tap into that tourist economy. Maybe that's one for the future. Anyway, we've run out of time. Do you know what? I keep coming. I'm going to do this last section at some point, and
that letter.
Honestly, today I was like, fucking hell, I'm going to do that today, and we've still run out of fucking time. I do want to finish off though, just for 1 minute, and I don't want to get into it, but I just want to say it and see what your opinion is, like, briefly. Firstly, did you see Big Sam going out with the bang as Leeds literally lost their last 2 games of the season? So he did
Hasn't
nothing.
It worked out at £1 million a point?
Is that what it was?
Something
just
like
fucking
that,
ridiculous. But I saw it, like a clip of his last interview, and he basically just went, the squad isn't good enough. And you're like, lad,
cheers, Sam.
You knew how good the squad was before you came in. That's just useless to everybody. You lost your last 2 games of the season. Your last 2 games were West Ham, who had just qualified for a European final, so were clearly tired, and a Spurs side who had basically nothing to play for.
Mad.
And you were at home, and they're shite. Like, and you lost both of those games.
Tonked as well by Spurs.
Fuck off. Yeah. And the other one I just want to say, and this is because Dortmund, did you see what happened to Dortmund?
Oh, heartbreaking.
Like, And there's this big thing at the moment, and I don't really get it. And I'm into fucking looking after humans and helping people look after themselves. Like, we're not allowed to say, I keep seeing Neville desperately wants to say this on telly. And he keeps like stopping himself going, can't say this anymore. Like, you can't say you bottled it. You bottled it, lads. You had to beat Mainz at home to win the league. And you were 2-0 down and you drew 2-2. You bottled it. Arsenal, you bottled it. In 13-14, we bottled it. That's okay. Do you mean it's okay to say? We fucking hadn't done it before. We were nervous. It's hard.
There's mental strength required, etc.
And we didn't have the mental strength to do it. And we'll learn from it and we'll come back. But at the end of the day, that's what happened.
Yeah, you're not allowed to say it. Why aren't you? Well, like you look, like I seen one of those things, like it's a graphic and it shows you where like the clubs went through the course of the season.
Yeah.
And you're just like watching it. Arsenal, top. And like their first half of the season, they racked up points, and then, towards the end, there is a bit. I mean, I know it's like, well, he was injured and this happened and blah, blah, blah. And, there's loads of people still looking for reasons, but yeah, the best sides find a way, don't they? And I'm about to go on another Man City rant. You've had enough of them.
Yeah. Yeah. And literally, mental strength is part of it.
Yeah,
it's literally
100%.
Maybe the biggest part. So it's okay to say, for me, it's okay to say.
It'd be interesting to see what happens to them now, I think, Arsenal, because, like Liverpool have got to finals, lost, and then immediately bounced back. And that's been an incredible mental strength and, a big sign that, Klopp at his best and that group at the best, wow, to be able to bounce back like that. Have Arsenal got that collectively? As the manager got that? As the key players in their side got that? We'll see. Be interesting.
They need some big signings. And last one to finish off, if I was linked to Bellingham in any way, like Joe, if I was Trent or Henderson, I'd be saying to him, Joe, if I were you though, mate, I'd want to stay at Dortmund to try and win the league next year because you didn't do it this year. That'll probably play on your mind? Just convince him to stay there.
Real,
convince him to stay there until we're back in the Champions League and we're back in a position of going to him. Come on.
I like
to
the
us
thing,
now.
just to crowbar in. I mean, I'm nicking his point, but I heard Simon Jordan on my way in and they were talking about.
Love Simon Jordan now, don't
I know, yeah. But like, he's an arse, isn't he, in one way, but he's like, that's his thing to be one.
Yeah.
I heard him talking about Allardyce and like they were going to him like, well, you've been an owner of a club, would you employ Allardyce? And you could tell he was like, because they've had Allardyce on the show and stuff like that. I suspect he's mates with Jim White and things like that. And so he was like having to walk a bit of a tightrope while we answered that, I thought. But then it was like in the end, you could almost sense he thought, oh, fuck it. And he went, my problem with employing him is he refers to himself as Big Sam, and I've got a problem with that. I love that. Yeah. He was like, you've created a character of yourself and you refer to yourself as it. And he's like, that's not for me, that.
Nah. Yeah. Well, let's end it there. That's a nice place to end. Thanks again. Get on the Patreon if you want to. You can get involved for £4 a month. And it's fucking good, isn't it? People are enjoying it.
Yeah, which has been dead nice.
And so if you're on it, we'll see you later in the week. If not, we'll see you next week.